If you think you struggle with your teen, just remember that your teen struggles with you. Aly Pain strives to always see both sides so that she can help teens and parents have a happier and healthier relationship. She joins me today to discuss how to ensure back to school success. Welcome back to the show, Aly.
Thank you so much, Candace. I'm glad to be here.
I can almost feel the nervous jitters happening right now as the show is airing. School is imminent, so let's get into it.
Yes, the cries from parents, the moans from teenagers, it is worldwide right now. So I think that we need to better address what back to school can feel like, because right now, I think for parents, it's like shoulders into ears, nails down a chalkboard. And that doesn't help you as a parent if you're listening. And it also doesn't help your teenager who also might be struggling. So I'm going to give you some tips today with practical tools that this is actually one of the most popular articles that I've written. So I'm really excited to share these, and I hope that they do help to lower some stress in your home. The first one is I want to point out that teenagers are more overwhelmed, anxious, and dealing with depression, situational or pathologized, more than ever. So we need to remember that even though you do not see mental health, that their mental health may be in the way of them doing school in a way that they want to and doing school in a way that you would like them to. So let's not pretend that just because we can't see it, it's like a broken arm. Just because you can't see my broken bones doesn't mean my arm isn't broken, and you wouldn't maybe ask me to like play baseball or carry heavy boxes. If your teenager is already under that weight of mental health, we need to be cognizant of that and not pretend or ignore. Based on that, I would say be your teenager's ally. Be their ally, not their enemy. And here's what I mean by that. I don't think you intend to be their enemy. However, if you come at school from a position of you're not doing the way that I want this to, why aren't you prioritizing? This is necessary. And if you don't do this, then you're going to fail. And if you don't hand in your assignments, which is so simple, so I do not understand why you're not doing it, then you're not going to get the good grades. You're not going to get into the good schools. You obviously won't get the good jobs. And then you're going to be homeless and living under a bridge.
I think honestly, I'm laughing a little bit because I can hear those words coming out of almost every parent's mouth at some point.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's hard. You really have to catch yourself because as a parent, I feel that it's a concern. You want the best. And so you feel like they're not seeing it,
Mm-hmm.
but they are.
Right. But they have an inside view of all the other quagmire of things that are going on in their brain that are real and true for them that you and I as parents cannot see. So what gets in our way, and this is again where mental health is important. By the way, that whole homeless living under a bridge thing, your teenager already thinks that. They already think that. So you don't need to reinforce it. They already think that. Because this social construct of your value as a human being defined by how well you do at school is so pervasive that kids who are already struggling have reached the apathetic point where they throw their hands up in the air and go, well, why bother? I'm already a
Right.
failure, so meh. So can we just please be really cautious? I understand what gets in the way is that you love your child as if that was ever a bad thing, and that you, of all people, see your teenager's potential more than anyone else. And so when your teenager doesn't behave from the incredible potential that you know is true for them, that is very hard for you to be with. And our first reaction is to micromanage and control. And it's actually counterintuitive to helping your teen become their best and fulfill what you are actually hoping for them. So it's counterintuitive. So be your teenager's ally. Now, here's what I specifically mean by that. I want you to get curious over being critical. If they're not doing it the way that you want them to, whether it's handing in assignments or showing up for school or going to school on time because they can't get out of bed, whatever it is, I want you to be curious. first. I want you to say to them, help me to understand. This is what I notice, and I'm just really curious about what's going on for you. Because you don't know. Their teenagerhood is not your teenagerhood, and they are not you. So be curious first, use those exact scripts to find out. By being their ally, depending on what your teenager tells you, and sometimes they're not ready to tell you, and sometimes they can't articulate what to tell you, at least ask. You can say to them, look, if you need me to talk to your teacher, because a lot of teenagers are dealing with significant fears, real or otherwise, of being bullied by or unfairly treated by their teachers, or punitive action by their teacher, et cetera, whatever. You can say to them, look, if you want me to talk to your teacher, I absolutely will. I will advocate for you. If this classroom, you're just finding it too chaotic and you're not getting your work done, I will ask if you can get your work done in a different classroom. If you need me to talk to the principal and we can sit down and find ways to make this work for you, I will do that. I won't do any of it unless you would like me to, because I'm not going to micromanage, but I want you to know that I understand that these things are struggles for you, and I am here to be your ally. That is how you
I
get
think you
them.
just said something that's very key here is if they
Okay,
say to you they don't want you to do this,
don't do it. Because then you go to
So hard
micromanaging.
though. I know, but
It is so hard.
you want to swoop in and save them. And I understand that if they don't want you to,
100%.
they don't want you to. I think we should talk about time management a little bit though, because if
Yes.
we could, because I think a lot of kids and a lot of parents are off schedule. And also we've been in the pandemic for 2 years.
Right. Right. So, okay. So there's a couple things that goes on with time management that you must, again, just like mental health, you can't ignore it. And ignoring it is going to make your relationship with your teen worse, if nothing else. You cannot ignore science. Your teenager does not have the prefrontal cortex or frontal lobes fully developed such that they understand and can manage their time in a way that you want them to. Now, let me go a little step further on this, because what you might have just heard is, well, Aly, that's exactly why I need to do it for them. No, 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 no. That is not what I said. What I'm saying is hammering your teen for and labeling them as lazy, irresponsible, obviously careless, and they won't be accountable. All of those very derogatory terms are wildly unhelpful to their already low self-esteem when their brain is learning impulse control, critical analysis, decision making, and prioritization. And here's where time management also comes into that lazy, irresponsible thing. They're growing up in a world where our generation thought it was cool to invent one of these. And then we get pissed at our teen because they can't seem to manage their life. Well, this device was intended to play with your dopamine center. It's like Vegas. Have you ever been to Vegas? There's all the lights are the same in the casinos. There's no clocks. So your brain has no idea what time it is. And there are no external cues to change behavior like you and I had. For example, commercials.
Right.
Okay, so if your teenager is not lazy or irresponsible because this phone is working with their brain the way that it was intended to. So can we please drop that? Because they don't have external cues like we used to, doesn't mean they're inherently lazy or bad. It means they don't have external cues. So time management means working with a brain that is still developing in a world that has now got bottomless feeds. So how do you create an external cue? And what I mean by that specifically, here's what we did in our house. We used stove timers or microwave timers. We would set them. Now I would never. He who sets the timer is the person who uses the timer, because this is empowering. This is, again, not micromanaging. If your teenager needs to set a timer because they want to come home and chill out and be on their phone for 45 minutes, because we all do that, to just escape for a bit, set a timer outside of the room, somewhere that is requiring them to get up and go turn it off, because no one else will turn it off for them. You don't turn it off for them and you don't set it for them. you need to frame this in a way that sounds like you're not stupid. You're not bad. You are a product of what my generation has created. And it's hard. That's why phone alarms don't work. If you're already on your phone, you go meh, and you turn it off. So that's a first step of time management, is you've got to understand they need external cues that trigger the brain to change behavior. So specifically things that make them get up and go do something helps them to change gears and create better time management. Okay. Now, there's a couple more tools I want to tell you about that. The first is procrastination is big for teenagers because their self-esteem and is low, their anxiety is high. And procrastination comes from, you require a level of confidence, and you got to believe that you've got to have what it takes to start. So use the 5-minute rule. So the 5-minute rule is what's used to get an action done, because the hardest part about procrastination is starting. So this is about getting them into starting, but not so much that it trips the procrastination wire that says, you suck at this, you can't do this, you're dumb, you don't know how to do this, you're never going to get it done. So you trip that one. So get out those subject books, open it to the page of the assignment, open it up on your computer, maybe write their name at the top of the page, and then stop. And you're like, this is never going to get done. Okay, well, they can probably do 10 sessions of 5 minutes and get more done than staring at a page for 2 hours, all in that procrastination tripwire that says, you suck, you're stupid, you're never going to get this finished, and get nothing done. So you pick. So the 5-minute rule helps them stay. And then in between the 5 minutes, the best things, this is hard for a teen, but the best thing is body movement and fresh air. Those are the two things that clear the brain the best. Then encourage them. You don't come back to them and say, oh, great, so you did 5 minutes. I need you to let that go. You can say, wow, okay, you did 5 minutes. Awesome. Now let's try another 5 minutes. Maybe they skim over the homework and they just find the questions that feel doable. And they just kind of start, take a few notes and do that for 5 minutes and then stop. It actually builds confidence, breaks down procrastination, lowers anxiety, lowers stress, and builds resilience to build longer and longer periods of time.
I have to tell you that 5-minute rule, I think, could work for anybody, because it's 5 minutes of sustained focus on one subject matter. And when we're pulled in a million different directions, I really like the idea of that. But we're running out of time. In fact, we're out of time. So you have 12 of these amazing tips all pulled together. It's one of your most popular tools that you give to parents.
Yeah.
So we're going to put that in the liner notes of the podcast. We'll throw it up on the video so that people can find it as well. And you're going to be back next month with more. Aly, you're always so great. And you always give such fresh perspective on that relationship with your teen. And I can tell people who are listening today that those scripts that you share work. So I want people to find you. Where can they go?
Best place is Instagram or TikTok at Aly Pain, ALYPAIN, or my website, alypain.com.
Incredible. Aly, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks, Candace.